2024 is not over yet, and while we've already covered the games with definitive release dates in the second half of the year, there's a handful that could still release at any point before 2025. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and today we're breaking down 11 promising games that could still release before the year is out. The first game on our list is one we've had our sights on for a long time now, ever since it was revealed nearly 2 years ago. We're of course talking about the Plucky Squire, developed by All Possible Futures and published by the indie powerhouse Devolver Digital. This charming indie title follows the magical adventures of the storybook characters Jot and his friends. When the villain of the book, Hump Grump, discovers the story is actually in for a happy ending, he kicks Jot and his crew out of the book for good and throws them into a completely unfamiliar 3D world full of action, adventure, puzzle solving, and more that clearly pays homage to titles like Paper Mario. From what we've seen and heard from those who've been lucky enough to go hands-on with early builds of the game, the Plucky Squire is shaping up to be something fantastic, and the passion oozing from every frame of this game certainly comes across clearly. It still doesn't have a definitive release date, but we are fully expecting this one to drop sometime before the year is over. Let's keep the indie train running. Next up is Replaced, a 2.5D action platformer that manages to push the visual limits of the pixel art look. Set in 1980s America, you'll dive into a retro-futuristic, dystopian story centered around an artificial intelligence trapped in a human body. The cinematic moments look brilliant and the action sequences fluid, and the atmosphere is nothing short of immersive. We know very little else about this title, but we do know there is a loose 2024 release date. Jumping from 2.5D to 3D, next up we have Hyper Light Breaker, developed by Heart Machine, creators of the well-received 2D title Hyper Light Drifter. This time the team is stepping into the 3D space and trying their hand at an extraction roguelike, an interesting combination. You'll explore a vast open world, and your ultimate goal is to defeat the Abyss King. To do that, however, you'll need to clear out a variety of bosses that are only accessible after completing a series of tasks. At any point in time, you can extract, saving yourself resources and using them to make yourself stronger for the next run. We're huge fans of roguelites here on the channel, especially ones with co-op elements, and the open world aspects of this game certainly have grabbed our attention. With early reports indicating the team has absolutely nailed the gameplay side of things, we're excited to check this out sometime in the second half of 2024. This next game I'm personally really excited about. 33 Immortals, set to release sometime into early access this year, is a co-op action roguelike for 33 players. Yes, you heard me right, 33 players. You play as damned souls, rebelling against God's final judgment, fighting for your very existence against hordes of monsters, bosses, and much more. The cool thing about the game, it has instant matchmaking that drops you straight into co-op battles and what they're calling a distillation of the MMO raid experience. This means you'll optimize your skills to augment both yourself and the 32 other players on your team, acquire long-term permanent upgrades, and hop into those chaotic battles trying to inch ever closer to the final raid boss encounter. Honestly, this sounds incredibly unique. The only downside, it's being released on Epic and Xbox, so no Steam Early Access release for those who might be waiting. One of the bigger AAA games revealed at the beginning of this year was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This first-person action-adventure game will put us in control of the legendary treasure hunter as we fight Nazis, discover hidden temples, and race across the world to unravel a global mystery. This entire game is set between the events of the Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. Now, on one hand, as massive Indiana Jones fans, we're really excited to dive into a modern game within the IP. I think the Indiana Jones franchise is actually ripe for having adventures and telling stories through this format. On the other hand, we really haven't seen much actual gameplay here, with most of the trailers and showcases being cinematic sections of the overall story with small snippets of highly edited gameplay in between. When you have such a limited known toolkit on a character, such as simply your fists, a few guns, and a whip, it's crucial they get the gameplay to an extremely polished state, or everything will feel repetitive. Regardless, whether you're on board or not with the gameplay at this point, we shouldn't have to wait long to experience it sometime this fall. As huge fans of Obsidian Entertainment, one game we cannot wait to get our hands on is Avowed. The team there has a proven track record. They know how to make great games with both interesting ideas and compelling narratives. Being a first-person fantasy action RPG, we'll be diving into something very similar to The Elder Scrolls, of course, with Obsidian's own twist. Here we'll be diving into the Living Lands, a mysterious island located on Eora, a world first introduced in the Pillars of Eternity franchise. We'll be tasked with investigating rumors of a deadly spreading plague, where our choices will supposedly have rippling narrative consequences, and the inhabitants of the island will throw all manner of mysteries, secrets, and threats at us along the way. The game genuinely looks fun, with its wide variety of swords, spells, guns, shields, and more at our disposal, most being able to be mixed and matched via a dual-wielding system in order to provide us with a whole host of combinations to deal with enemies and threats to match our playstyle. Slated for a release sometime in the second half of 2024, it shouldn't be much longer till we get our hands on hopefully the next great game from Obsidian. In between the few AAA titles on this list, interesting indie games keep popping up, and the Towers of Aghasba is certainly one to pay attention to. Positioned as an open-world action-adventure sandbox, players will need to find a balance between creating sprawling villages inhabited by the Shimu tribe and restoring devastated lands with quite diverse flora and fauna. We've seen some pretty exciting gameplay snippets full of wildlife hitting the full range across the land, deep in the oceans, and in the vast skies above. You'll explore all these different environments while looking for important items, harvesting a wide range of resources, and restoring areas that would otherwise be devoid of life. It looks like we'll encounter both friendly and unfriendly creatures, leading to hopefully some fun combat moments sprinkled in to the game as a whole. Overall, this looks like a solid, chill experience based on what we've seen so far, and hopefully we see a lot more of it before its launch sometime in the back half of 2024. Alright, how about something cozy? Was your favorite part of the Lord of the Rings series the lush, hilly homes of the Shire? Do you enjoy relaxing life sim games like Animal Crossing? Well then, look no further than Tales of the Shire. While this game certainly doesn't tip the scales from a visual standpoint, it looks like the perfect way to unwind within your favorite high fantasy IP. You'll be able to create your own hobbit, transform and decorate your own hobbit hole with grid-free placement, and explore the quaint little town of Bywater. As you explore, you'll forage for seasonal crops, fish till your hands are sore, discover secret glades and hidden treasures, and meet iconic characters along the way, all while working to cook up your next great meal, fit for a hobbit. Everything all contributes back to building up your own little slice of this fantasy world and gaining rewards throughout story progression until you finally gain official village status in Bywater. Honestly, this sounds like the perfect relaxing game for any Lord of the Rings fan, and I can't wait till it gets a release date sometime in the second half of 2024. I think we've all been itching for more Dragon Age in our lives, and with the reveal of Dragon Age the Veilguard, the series is certainly looking the most fluid and vibrant it ever has before. This time around, you'll enter into a world teetering on the edge of destruction, with corrupt elven gods threatening to blighten the world. Throughout your adventure, you'll recruit a team of 7 diverse companions, each with their own backstories and unique skills that they'll bring to the table in a fight. Whether you bring in the scout, detective, necromancer, dragon hunter, warden, veil jumper, or mage killer, each will bring something different to combat. But what about yourself? You'll be able to select from 3 classes, warrior, mage, or rogue, each with 2 distinct weapon types and unique abilities, with decently sized skill trees to further tailor your specialization and playstyle amongst your companions. To be honest, we don't think the game looks half bad from the early previews, and we have to keep in mind nearly everything shown so far from a gameplay perspective had characters that were barely even leveled up, so I think it's relatively safe to assume things will get more intricate as the game progresses. That being said, we always say wait for reviews or a chance to go hands-on yourself, and hopefully we'll be able to do that later this year. Is it time for another vampire game? No, God no, not that one. We're talking, of course, about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, the sequel to one of the best vampire games ever made. As an elder vampire with unrivaled speed and agility, supernatural powers, and raw persuasive abilities at your disposal, you'll fight your way through a modern-day Seattle that's on the brink of an open war and a power vacuum within the vampire court. The gameplay we've seen so far is looking fresh and fluid, truly tapping into that feeling of being an apex predator of the night, and with 6 different clans to choose from at launch, you'll be able to further lean into a desired vampire playstyle right from the get-go. As always, blood sustains you and your powers, so you'll need to stalk and feed on the city's population at night through either brute force or persuasion to take them at an opportune moment, all while trying to make sure you don't reveal what you are. Do so and you'll risk repercussions from law enforcement and other vampires. All of this combined with a narrative that takes into account your choices, plots, and schemes, and we're looking at potentially the next great vampire game, dropping sometime later this fall. The last title on our list for promising games without a 2024 release date is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and this game is really looking to build on what they delivered with the first title. You'll once again be playing as Henry of Skalitz, who at this point in his life is really just becoming a young man, and he can be shaped and molded by the decisions that you make for him, allowing you to really lean into and master the crafts and skills you want to focus on and identify with. Additionally, the open world set in medieval Bohemia around 1403 will be nearly 2 times the size of the original game, with a story that is much longer, touting over 5 hours of cinematic cutscenes. On top of that, all of the systems we experienced in the first game, they've overhauled and built upon, adding a ton of new weapons, crafting, and even a criminal system that dynamically reacts to your actions along the way. The team is on record saying Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is what the first game was supposed to be, but because of their lack of resources and experience at the time, they just couldn't. Considering how much they've added in this hotly anticipated sequel releasing sometime in the back half of 2024, this is shaping up to be potentially one of the best and historically accurate medieval RPGs of all time. So there you have it, some huge games that might still launch in 2024. While we're not optimistic about all of them, this year has been a bit strange, so I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 of these dropped out of the blue. As always, let us know what you think of the list, leave us a comment down below, and if you like these types of videos, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, and consider subscribing. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.